have a question for you on music.
Okay.
Yeah. At what point is Drake's voice not Drake's voice on a song with Drake and doesn't belong to Drake?
Well, I mean, can we go back to 808 Heartbreaks with Kanye?
There's just a lot of
and go
auto-tune
down-
on there. It's still him singing.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you could hear me singing and it would have sounded the same thing. Okay, I get the Drake thing, but I'm gonna go with Grimes.
Well,
So-
Grimes is a different story. Grimes said, use my voice all you want. If you make money,
Yeah.
I want to cut.
Right.
Right.
Is that person a genius or an idiot?
I don't know. She did marry Elon Musk, so I don't know what the answer to this is.
Oh, I think that makes double idiot, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I really don't know.
So I sent you this, but there's a great podcast episode on the Bill Simmons podcast with Derek English, right? From oh God, his name's not Derek English. What's his name? He's from The Atlantic. I don't know. I'm gonna remember this in a couple seconds. It's not gonna remember. I'm gonna look it up. So in the podcast, he's talking about the Grimes thing, and that's great. He goes down that road, but he also talks about like at what point will people generate AI versions of their voice or their likeness, and it becomes in movies, and all of a sudden you've got Marlon Brando starring in The Godfather 6.
right.
And is that okay?
It would be
And
4, not 6.
I was fast forwarding. I was saying there were 2 more. God bless.
It's basically like Luke Skywalker being young Luke Skywalker in like Star Wars Episode 9.
Well, right. Okay, so that was the thing I was thinking is like when you say that, it's like, oh, that's outlandish. But I don't know. I know people are going to disagree with this, but I watched, Rogue One when it came out,
Yeah.
and I legitimately was so confused by the Tarkin thing the entire time I was in the theater. Like it worked for me. I don't know why. I know it didn't work for everyone, but it worked for me so well.
Yeah.
That I was like, man, that was impressive. And that's 8 years ago technology. Like now it's going to get better and better and better, right?
Yep.
And so at what point, again, is that art? Like, I think so, because you still have to make the actor do the thing you want him to do, right? You still have to direct the digital actor the same way you do a Pixar film.
If there is a digital actor.
Well, even if
mean,
you're directing the...
Well, just take it. Even just take it one step further back. I mean, forget digitally replicating actors. CGI has been used forever, right? Like since the 1980s, they've used CGI. So you got people who literally just act in front of a green screen, and nothing else is there until it's post production.
But we agree that's art, right?
Yes.
Do you not?
No, I do. The hesitation is this. My hesitation isn't that it is or isn't art. I think where I really find conflict in this, and I have a hard time bringing it all together, is that I think if you take a step back on any creative item, whether it's written word or paintings or photos or videos or music, and you look at the project as a whole, you can make a decision whether it is art or not, whether it's yours or not. But you can also dive into that project and look at the individual components and draw that same conclusion to each individual component. Yeah. And I don't think that every answer needs to be yes on every component for the overall answer to be yes. Right? I think you can say, for example, I took a photo on my camera in auto everything, and I made some edits in Lightroom, but all I did was, increase the highlights, right? Or increase the exposure. I didn't do anything else. Yeah. And so maybe my editing wasn't necessarily art, but my framing of the subject and taking the photo was art. And maybe that is enough in that specific item for me to look at the entire picture as a whole and say that is art and it is my creation. It's also possible for me to take a photo of Delicate Arch and go in and change everything about it. Even change the angle at which it was shot, and the alignment, literally everything about it. And in that image, I can look at the individual component of, did I frame it and take a picture? Yes. That part of it is mine. Did I really do anything else to it other than hit auto generate a result? No. So is the overall thing, the overall creation, do I own it? Yes. But is it my creation? No. Maybe it's not, because I had a 1% input on a 100% item, So I think this is where I really get torn, and I find myself questioning things often, right? I can listen to a song that is, 60% Drake. I know it's not Drake singing. He knows it's not him singing. It's not his, it's a replication of his voice, but it's not his words. It's not his lyrics. It's not him ever recording those songs. Is that work art? Sure. Does that artistic item belong to the person who created it? Sure. But is the aspects of Drake on that song the creation of art that belongs to the person who did it? Probably not.
But what does it matter?
I don't know. I don't know why it matters. I think if you're if you're in school and you're turning in a paper for a grade, it matters, because you're being judged on that result, right? But I think if I'm taking a photo of Antelope Canyon and I've got a bright white light in the sky and I want to make it blue because it just looks better, I don't think that matters. It doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters. I think here's the interesting thing, and maybe this is what I feel about all of it. Like, ultimately, when computers generate images or ideas that get close to humanity, but not fully there, there's this problem that we feel, right? So when things represent humans, but it's not exactly like, did you watch what's that show on HBO? Westworld?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good show.
I only watched one season.
First season was great.
Okay, so that uncanny valley, right? That whole idea.
Yep.
Of like, humans have this really amazing sense of that subtle difference in someone. It, goes saber-tooth tiger time, right? Protect yourself from rabies. Protect yourself from someone that's a little bit off, right?
Yep.
Like, humans can sense that. I think when it comes to art, when it comes to photography, videography, music, we have to believe as a human species that we are going to have that same ability to hear something generated by a computer, not by a human, and say, there's just something too perfect about that. There's something just slightly off.
Like, it just needs some sort of a distortion.
Right. So I was giving this as a metaphor for an employee a little bit ago, but we were talking about being perfect, right? And they were frustrated, like, I'm not perfect. I have all these flaws. Welcome to the club, right? We as humans aren't perfect. We're all flawed. And this person is a musician, a very talented musician. And I was playing for them Chris Stapleton singing Tennessee Whiskey in
song.
Austin. Do you know that version, though?
No.
The live version?
I don't, unfortunately.
Okay. There's a person you should listen to on YouTube. Her name's The Charismatic Voice, and she listens to someone sing and then she comments on it, right?
Okay.
The reason in particular is she's listening to that. It's at Austin City Limits. He's singing Tennessee Whiskey, and there's this note. It's in the second passage, and he does this snarly, long, drawn out note where he's hanging really hard on this E. He slips into an F and then comes back to an E, then drops into an E flat and then back to an E, right? So his voice has this little waver in it, which is not musically perfect, but it is so authentic that you can't help but, and she just laughs when he sings it. Like, this woman literally is brought to on the floor laughing at him for this note. And I think that's the thing that I think will fix this problem that we're staring at, which is, of course, they'll be able to generate a podcast with me and you on it talking. Of course, they'll be able to generate no one's going to do that, by the way. Of course, they'll be able to generate a Obama bot that you'll say a thing, Jim, listen, Jim. That will exist. Sure. Someone will have that. But I think it will always feel just a little bit uncanny valley, and I think humans are perceptive enough that unless they actively choose to ignore it, they will be able to feel that difference. And I don't know if technology will ever be able to replace humanity in that way, that people will feel so comfortable that they can just let go and freely give themselves to something. Now, again, we're talking about Chat GPT that has passed the Turing test and can make you as a human feel like you're talking to someone.
Yeah.
But I do think if you have any sense of it, you can feel the guardrails pretty quickly of what's around you there. And you'll run into something that will show you like this isn't the same. And I think musically we're going to experience the same thing where, yeah, you'll be like, well, that's really weird. Did Drake really cover that U2 song? Like, it just feels out of character for him.
Yeah.
But then something in it, some note, some style, or just even knowing he would never do that will be the uncanny valley part that will keep you from doing it. With one exception, which is I'm convinced Tom Cruise is already AI and everything he's doing is just auto-generated.
Well,
I don't, because he's already past the uncanny valley. Right?
Yeah,
He already
is.
felt weird.
Yeah.
He's already a weird alien. So
Yeah. Well, and I think we'll always be able to have that sense within us that says, hey, this is maybe not real, right? Maybe Drake would never cover a U2 song.
Sure.
The fear is that as time goes on, because it's going to be a gradual thing, you'll hear Drake on a song and then you find out it wasn't really Drake.
Yeah.
And then we still listen to it and we're like, that's a good song.
Okay.
And then as time goes on, you're just going to slowly, those guardrails are going to slowly go away. You're going to be slowly more accepting of it.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're just like, I don't actually give a fuck if it's Drake or not. It sounds good. And so I'm here for it. And then before we know it, Skynet.
I think it's important to note that I, for one, accept my AI future overlords. But let's hold that for next week.
Yeah,
I want to talk
was
about
trying to
that. I want to
segue.
talk about the future
Uh,
and the worries that we have as we go to that. But let's close out this week and we'll come back next week for that one. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. John was right. Hashtag.